What's up, my guys? It's your boy YKST Goblokest here, and welcome back to the channel. Feb 21st is fast approaching, and Marvel Rivals is about to end its first half of Season 1, which means The Thing and Human Torch are finally about to make their debut. Anytime now, Marvel Rivals will be dropping trailers and gameplay for these two new characters, but I just noticed that we currently only have 3 big baddies out of 35 playable characters, not including those who started bad, turned good, or vice versa. Still, the good outnumbers the bad. Now, this is what I love about Marvel and their games. They have the power to bring an ultimate showdown. What's a great hero without an even greater villain, right? From ruthless masterminds to powerhouse brawlers, you get to eliminate the Earth's mightiest heroes, blast them with your unique abilities, explore their background, able to hear their thoughts and begin to empathize their goal, understanding their perspective, why they do the things they do. So in today's video, I'll be laying out my top 10 villains I want to see in Marvel Rivals. This list is all about the villains who deserve a spot in the action. To further explore and balance the versatility of characters in the Marvel Universe, I'll be laying out 3 villains per role, including their gameplay style and some abilities, plus a bonus character at the end of the list. So stick around and let's dive in, my guys. Starting things off with my Vanguards. Kane Marco, better known as the Juggernaut. A powerful supervillain primarily appearing as an enemy of the X-Men, a big bulky dude who is the stepbrother of Professor X. He has superhuman strength and endurance, nearly indestructible. He becomes unstoppable when in motion and has a helmet that protects him against psychic attacks, much like Magito's. If Juggernaut were to be added, he would be a melee vanguard, bulldozing his way through obstacles. His passive ability is Unstoppable Momentum. Juggernaut's ability damage increases as his running momentum grows. His first ability is Crimson Armor. Juggernaut gains a temporary boost to defense, reducing incoming damage. His mobility ability is Head Start. Juggernaut gradually starts running from 6 meters per second to a max of 10 meters per second. The run immediately stops when cancelled or upon hitting an obstacle, destroying walls or pushing an enemy, dealing damage and launching them away. Enemies are stunned when thrown back against a wall. And for his ultimate, Powerful Charge. Juggernaut rushes forward, gaining maxed out movement speed, breaking through obstacles for 10 seconds. When an enemy blocks his path, it damages and brings them wherever he wishes to go during the duration, much like a charger in Left 4 Dead 2. When the ability ends, he throws enemies he brought away. If he hits an indestructible wall, it damages and stuns them. Next up, we have Flint Marco. And no, not Kane's brother, nor another stepbrother of Charles, but the infamous Sandman. A frequent enemy of Spider-Man and a member of the Sinister Six, Flint grew up in hardship and turned to a life of crime. While escaping prison, he stumbled into a nuclear testing site where exposure to irradiated sand transformed his body, allowing him to manipulate sand at will. He can alter size, form, and density, reshape his body into weapons or defenses, withstanding most physical attacks, and regenerate. Now in my version of Sandman, he can switch between 2 arsenals. Using the shift ability, he can transform one of his arms into 2 different weapons. One is a hammer that focuses more defensively, a slow-hitting melee splash attack, and the other is a spike mace that focuses more aggressive, a quick ranged attack that projects sandy spikes. His passive ability is Quicksand. Whenever Sandman successfully hits enemies for the 3rd time, a chunk of sand drops to the ground for 5 seconds. When an enemy steps on it, the sand slows them down and disables mobility abilities for a short period of time. But when the Sandman steps on it, he heals himself slightly, basically a free health pack for Sandman. His mobility ability, Sand Flight, alters Sandman's body into a dust of sand, giving him an ability to fly and becoming invulnerable for 2 seconds. Sandman's ultimate is Sandstorm. Sandman transforms himself into a gigantic bag of sand, slowly pulling enemies towards him and finally crushing them with his body, dealing damage and stunning them. And for my last Vanguard villain, I bring you Sabanur, or the Immortal Apocalypse. Born in ancient Egypt over 5,000 years ago, abandoned as an infant due to his gray skin and unusual features, he believed in survival of the fittest and sought to shape the world according to this philosophy. Over the centuries, he augmented his mutant abilities with celestial technology, becoming the most physically powerful mutant. He can absorb and release vast amounts of energy, can travel great distances instantly, and most notably, can enhance other mutants, thus creating the Horsemen of Apocalypse. Apocalypse is a melee vanguard with the passive ability Regenerative Ritual that gradually heals himself over time when out of combat. His first ability, Power Bestowal, provides bonus health, granting damage boost for a couple of seconds and slightly reducing ability cooldowns to himself and up to 4 allies near him, bestowing them with great power much like he did with his horsemen. Another one of his abilities is Matter Manipulation. Apocalypse transforms a big percent of the incoming damage into bonus health to help him stay longer in the battlefield. His mobility ability, Teleportation, teleports Apocalypse within a short distance in the direction of movement. And for his ultimate, Survival of the Fittest, Apocalypse raises an arena around himself, trapping enemies caught in the area, all of his cooldowns refreshed, gaining damage and movement speed, invulnerable to any stuns, and receives bonus health for the duration. Now the question is, are you fit to survive at the hands of Apocalypse? On to our next role, we have my Duelists. Starting things off with Norman Osborn, widely known as Spider-Man's arch-villain, the Green Goblin. Norman was a wealthy businessman and the founder of Oscorp Industries. He is a villain who wields a variety of high-tech weaponry, including pumpkin bombs, razor-sharp blades, and the Goblin Glider. The transformation was the result of his exposure to a chemical formula called the Goblin Serum, which granted him super strength, regeneration, and agility, but also triggered a split personality, turning him into the sadistic and unpredictable Green Goblin. Now, Green Goblin is a flying rage duelist who throws out pumpkin bombs in an arc that explode upon impact, much like Squirrel Girls but without the ricochet effect. His first ability is Razor Bats. Green Goblin launches 5 sharp homing bats that locks onto an enemy, quickly following the target and damages them upon impact unless destroyed. His mobility ability is Glider's Trickery. Green Goblin throws enemies trying to get him from the sky away using his glider. Much like Hawkeye's Crescent Slash ability, he then gains a dash ability upon hit. And for his ultimate, Goblin Strike, Green Goblin glides forward laughing hysterically, dropping a dozen number of pumpkin bombs, much like an artillery strike, causing massive area damage to enemies hit. Next up, we have the living death that walks, most commonly known as a nihilist. An insectoid warlord from the negative zone, he was once a lowly creature until he discovered a crashed alien ship containing advanced technology, including the powerful cosmic control rod, which vastly enhanced his intelligence, strength, and lifespan. With his newfound power, he set out to destroy anything he sees as a threat to his existence, including the inhabitants of the negative zone, and later, the entire Marvel Universe. My version of Annihilus is a ranged duelist that fires a continuous energy beam from the cosmic control rod. His first ability is Infestation Swarm. Annihilus commands a wave of insectoid creatures in targeted direction, dealing damage and reducing healing received to enemies they made contact with. His mobility ability is Stifling Flight. Annihilus spreads his demonic wings and dashes forward, launching back enemies and dealing damage. And his ultimate, Cosmic Annihilation. Annihilus unleashes the full power of the Cosmic Control Rod, entering a Berserk mode for 10 seconds, switching himself into a fast mobile melee duelist, gaining damage resistance and damage boost, having a swarm of insectoids flying around him, dealing damage and reducing healing received to enemies nearby. And for my final duelist, Nathaniel Richards, a 31st century scholar believed to be a descendant of either Reed Richards or Victor Von Doom. His discovery of time travel technology leads him to explore different eras, creating multiple personas, namely Ramatut, the Scarlet Centurion, Immortus, and his most iconic persona, Kang the Conqueror. He is a warlord who seeks to dominate all of time and space. He represents the dangers of unchecked ambition, the consequences of time manipulation, and the idea that no matter how far you travel in time, you can't escape who you are. Kang is a ranged duelist using advanced weaponry from the future that shoots out 3 high-speed plasma bolts every trigger. His passive ability is Temporal Mastery. Kang gains cooldown reduction to his abilities each time he eliminates an enemy. His first ability is Time Displacement Grenade. Kang throws a grenade that damages and teleports enemies back to where they were 3 seconds ago upon detonation. His mobility ability, Quantum Rift, dashes Kang forward then gains an ability that when activated within 3 seconds, he returns to his starting position. And for his ultimate, I call it Conqueror's Domain. Kang the Conqueror reverts the whole game from what it was 10 seconds ago. Yes, including abilities, health, death, cart push, overtime, and all that. And last but not the least, for my strategists, let me present you Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio. Quentin was a special effects artist and stuntman in Hollywood with dreams of becoming famous, but when his career stalled, he turned to crime. Using his expertise in illusions, robotics, and chemistry, he became one of Spider-Man's most cunning and deceptive foes. He's known for creating hyper-realistic illusions to deceive enemies, uses chemical mist to distort perception, and an expert at mind games and deception. Mysterio is a ranged support that charges his basic attack to project a misty beam that deals damage to enemies and heal allies within range. His passive ability is Smoke and Mirrors. Mysterio illusions would be emitting a green mist to distort vision upon summon or death. The mist deals damage to enemies and heals allies within its range. His first ability is Holographic Decoy. Mysterio could create up to 3 illusions. These illusions work like Mirage in Apex Legends. It imitates every movement Mysterio does. It could walk, it could jump. It could look and shoot like how Loki illusions work, but without the damage and heal. Illusions are just there to basically confuse your enemies. Was thinking of giving him flight as well. It is the year 2099 after all. The thought of a bunch of Mysterios flying looks cool, so for his mobility ability, Misty Orbit, Mysterio flies in a circular pattern, leaving a trail of green mist. He then slowly descends back to the ground before being able to control his movement on air. And for his ultimate, Master of Illusions. Mysterio deceives his enemy's perspective by replacing every player's character into Mysterio's. Friendly fire is active on the opponent's side during the duration of this ability. Their abilities and damage may affect the wrong enemy. Guess where the real Mysterio is? Next up, we have Otto Octavius, a brilliant scientist specializing in nuclear physics, engineering, and cybernetics. While working as a researcher, Otto created a set of mechanical arms to handle dangerous materials. However, a lab accident fused the arms to his nervous system, granting him full mental control over them. The explosion also caused severe brain trauma, turning him from a reclusive scientist into a megalomaniac supervillain called Dr. Octopus. Doc Ock became one of Spidey's most intelligent and dangerous foes, often leading major criminal operations and assembling villain teams like the Sinister Six. Doc Ock is a ranged support who has upgraded tentacles that shoot out energy beams, healing allies or damaging enemies. He walks using 2 of his tentacles, shooting with his 2 other tentacles, body free-falling mid-air. His passive ability, Locomotion, allows Doc Ock to use his tentacles to easily walk through obstacles and steps, climb walls and ceilings, attaching himself for as long as he wants, gaining high ground for a strategic advantage. His first ability, Tentacle Swipe, is a long-range swipe that deals damage and launches enemies away. This ability has 2 charges. Another one of his abilities is Cephalopod Inc. Doc Ock's tentacles shoot out an electrifying cloud that overrides and disables enemy abilities for 1 second. His ultimate, Sinister Rampage, Doc Ock leaps and slams towards the targeted area, dealing damage to enemies and inspiring allies within, providing them with damage boost and bonus health for 10 seconds. And lastly, we have Nathaniel Essex, a brilliant 19th century scientist in Victorian England, obsessed with evolution, mutation, and genetic perfection. He theorized that humanity was undergoing a new stage of evolution, which made him an outcast among his scientific peers. His work caught the attention of Apocalypse. Seeing Essex's potential, Apocalypse transformed him into the near-immortal Mr. Sinister. So Mr. Sinister is a short-range support that fires concentrated energy blasts from his hands. This blast only deals damage. Upon enemy hit, damage dealt is distributed to allies around you, healing them equally. His passive ability is Genetic Perfection. Mr. Sinister automatically heals 10% of his max HP over 3 seconds after losing 50% of his max health. This definitely has a cooldown. His first ability, DNA Reconstruction, mutates an ally or an enemy. If targeted to an ally, it grants them either one of the 2 buffs, damage or healing boost for 5 seconds. If used on an enemy, it mutates them negatively, applying one of these 2 debuffs, reduced damage output or reduced healing received for 5 seconds. This ability has 4 charges and cannot stack. His shift ability, Gene Mutation, switches his first ability between 2 different buffs or debuffs. And for his ultimate, Clone Deployment, Mr. Sinister spawns a genetic clone of an ally or an enemy beside him that lasts 10 seconds. The clone is invulnerable and it mimics movement, basic attacks, and abilities of the copied hero. Okay, so there goes my 3 villains per role wish list. And finally, for my bonus character, I bring you the Mad Titan. Born on Titan, a moon of Saturn, Thanos was fascinated by death from an early age. His love for death drove him to seek ultimate power, believing that mass destruction would please her. Infamously known for his quest to gather the 6 Infinity Stones, when he collects them and assembles them into the Infinity Gauntlet, he gains a godlike power, erasing half of life in the universe with a snap of his fingers. In my version of Thanos, he is a Vanguard slash Duelist melee character that wields an Infinity Gauntlet, seeking to collect every stone, punching his way through enemies. For his passive ability, the Mad Titan, before the round starts, each Infinity Stone is chosen to be carried per enemy. Enemies would decide whoever wants to bring this specific stone. Whenever Thanos kills an enemy, he takes the stone the eliminated enemy possess and gains damage resistance for 3 seconds. When Thanos is killed though, all stones he wields returns to the original wielder. Once Thanos collects the last stone, he channels himself by enduring the pain the Infinity Gauntlet surges, stunning him for 3 seconds, making you vulnerable to damage before being able to walk again. He then gains access to his ultimate immediately. Decision making in the opponent's side is a critical part to a game against Thanos. Now, each stone provides power to the wielder. Power Stone boosts the wielder's damage. Space Stone boosts the wielder's movement. Time Stone slightly reduces ability cooldown. Reality Stone gives you a chance to phase through basic attacks. Soul Stone provides the wielder lifesteal on basic attacks. Mind Stone gives the wielder a chance to stun an enemy for a short period using basic attacks. Now for Thanos' first ability, Inevitable Charge, Thanos dashes forward. He then gains a knockback ability for 3 seconds, launching enemies away and dealing damage. Holding the button charges the ability and making him dash further, launch enemies further, and deal more damage. His second ability is Cosmic Grip. Thanos grabs an enemy near him, stunning them briefly before slamming them into the ground, dealing damage. His third ability, Titan's Wrath. Thanos stomps the ground, dealing area damage to enemies within range and gains damage resistance for the next 3 rounds. And finally, for his ultimate, Infinity Snap, a special ability that doesn't charge up like how Ultimate normally works. Once Thanos has collected all 6 Infinity Stones, he immediately gains access to his ultimate. Once activated, Thanos snaps his fingers and eliminates all living enemies around the map. The stones are then destroyed afterwards and cannot be collected again until the next round. And that wraps up my list of the top 10 villains I want to see in Marvel Rivals. Did your favorite make the cut, or is there a villain you think absolutely deserves a spot? Let me know in the comments down below, my guys. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on more Goblokest content. I'll be covering all the latest update, character reveals, gameplay breakdowns, trailer and movie reviews, so stick around for more, my guys. Until next time, stay epic, stay legendary, and I'll see you on the next video.